أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 166, Surah Al-Anbiya, ayah number 51 to 82. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ. And we had certainly given Ibrahim alayhi salam his sound judgment before. وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. And we were of him well-knowing. We were fully aware of him. Ibrahim alayhi salam was given his rushd min qablu. What does rushd mean? Rushd is used for right and sensible conduct. It is used for intelligence. It is used for wisdom. It is used for good ability. When a person plans whatever he has to do, when he is alert about whatever he is to do, he has maturity of the mind. So the word rushd applies to many things. But in particular, rushd, to summarize all of these meanings, it is to be intelligent. It is to have good sense with regards to the matters of the deen as well as the dunya. It is to have the understanding and good sense of the matters of deen as well as dunya. We read earlier in Surah An-Nisa that at what age should the wealth of the orphans be returned to them? فَإِنْ آنَسْتُم مِّنْهُمْ رُشْدًا. When you see rushd in them. So over there, what does rushd mean? That when you see in them sensible conduct, when you see that they have become mature, that they are aware of worldly matters, and they're also aware of religious matters. They're able to take responsibility for themselves. Then you should return their wealth to them. So Ibrahim a.s. was given his rushd min qablu. What does rushd over here mean? It means wisdom. It means knowledge. It means guidance. So all of this he was granted min qablu. Before when? Before has been understood in several ways. First of all, if you look at it in the previous ayat, who was mentioned? Harun and Musa alayhi salam. Harun and Musa alayhi salam were mentioned in the previous ayat. So before Harun and Musa alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam was given his rushd. Secondly, it has also been said that min qablu means in his childhood he was given. Meaning before he attained puberty. Before he became of the age of prophethood. Because we learned that prophethood was given to the prophets of Allah at a particular age. At what age? At the age of 40. However, Yahya alayhi salam, when was he given his prophethood? Before, right? We learned earlier, وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْحُكْمَ صَبِيًّا. And according to one opinion, he was only 3 years old. According to others, he was 7 years old. So similarly, Ibrahim alayhi salam, before he was given prophethood, what was he given in his childhood? He was given rushd. He was given right and sensible conduct. He was given the understanding of matters, of dunya as well as deen. So he was very mature from childhood. And it is also said that min qablu, as I told you, it means before prophethood. So what are the three meanings? Before Harun and Musa, secondly in his childhood, and thirdly before prophethood. وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. And we were of him عَالِمِينَ, meaning we knew him fully well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was fully aware of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he knew that Ibrahim was worthy of rushd at a very young age. Because many times people say, it's not fair that, somebody was given rushd in their childhood and because of that they were so good. I was never given rushd in childhood, so it's not my fault. But the fact is that Allah knew who Ibrahim was. He knew that he was worthy of rushd. He knew that he was worthy of prophethood. That he would fulfill the responsibility. That he will do what is required of him. So in this ayah we see that Ibrahim a.s. was given sensible conduct at a very young age. At a very young age. That he used his reason, he used his mind from a very young age. He did not accept just what everybody told him. Which is why, despite the fact that he was born in a people who did shirk, that the entire society was immersed in shirk, he wasn't willing to go the same way that his people were going. He questioned, he wondered, and through his questioning, he also made his people realize. So we see that at a very young age, he was given the sound judgment, and then an example of his rushd is given. That إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ, when he said to his father and to his people. Who was his father? His father's name was Azar. And remember that a father, regardless of who he is or how he is, a father definitely holds a high position in the sight of his son, in the sight of his child. Some parents, they may be very educated. Other parents, they may not be that educated. Some parents may be very successful. Others may not be successful. But at the end of the day, a father is a father. A mother is a mother. And وَقَوْمِهِ, so he said to his father, regardless of his position, and he also said to his people. And remember that addressing the entire nation, telling the entire people about something that they were unfamiliar of, that they were hostile to, was definitely something that would be intimidating. But he was fearless, and he went and he said to them. So he said to his father and to his people, that مَا هَذِهِ, what is this, التَّمَاثِيلُ, the statues, التي, which, أنتم you all, لها for it, عاكفون, ones who are devoted. What are these statues, what are these pictures to which you are so devoted to? At-tamathil is a plural of timthal. And timthal is from the root letters mim, sa, lam. And timthal literally is the exact copy, it is the exact imitation of something that Allah has created. So for example, there is an animal that Allah has created, for instance a bird. Now a person makes a drawing of it, a picture of it, which is very similar to how that bird actually is. Or for example, a person makes a statue, a figure of that bird. So timsal is the exact copy, it's the exact imitation of something that Allah has created, like a person, a tree, an animal, etc. And especially it is used for something that is handmade. So for example, a drawing that has been painted by hand. Or for instance, an image, a sculpture, a statue that has been made by hand. Because these days, many things can be made, many things can be drawn, but you don't need to use your hands. But timsal in particular is handmade. And remember that timsal is used for any picture, it is used for any statue. Whether or not any divinity is ascribed to it. Because remember that every picture, every statue is not an idol. Isn't it so? Like for example, if you find a book on medical science, and in that there are images of, let's say, the human body, you're not going to say, look, an idol. No, it's not supposed to be an idol. What is it? It's just an image. It's just a picture. So remember that every picture, every image, every statue, every figure is not an idol. The word that is used for idol, meaning the one to whom divinity is ascribed, the one to whom people prostrate to, the one to whom people worship, that is called sanam. Sad, noon, mim. Okay? That is called sanam. But timsal is any statue. And it's also said that sanam, they are used for such sculptures that are made of metals. Okay? That are made of gold. And tamathil could be hand-drawn pictures. They could be made of wood. They could be made of some other material, but sanam in particular is made of expensive material. So he said to the people, مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ, what are these tamathil? What are these pictures? What are these images? What are these statues to which you are so devoted to? Akifun is a plural of akif, and akif is from the root letters ayn, kaf, fa, ukuf. And ukuf is to pay full and complete attention to something. That when a person has completely devoted himself to something, that he's constantly focused on it, he's constantly looking at it, he's constantly admiring it, constantly contemplating on it. This is what ukuf is. And he remains in that state uninterruptedly. And when this word is used for worship, it gives a sense of worshipping continuously, worshipping uninterruptedly. So what are these images that you're so devoted to them, you don't even leave them for a minute. And you're so devoted to them that you stay with them, you cling to them all day long. There's always someone or the other who is with these images. Now if you notice, the word tamathil has been used over here, not asnam. Whereas what's the difference? Tamathil is any picture, any image, any sculpture. So why is the word tamathil used over here? To show the unreasonableness of the illogic of worshipping idols. That after all, they're only images. After all, they're only sculptures. Something that you yourself have made. So how can you think that they deserve worship? So even with the word that is used over here, the illogic of shirk is being proven. It's not that Ibrahim a.s. did not know what these pictures were. He knew very well that these pictures were what? Idols whom the people used to worship. Now in this ayah, we see the right and sound judgment, the rushd that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed Ibrahim a.s. with. That we see that he is speaking to his father, he is speaking to his entire nation. And remember that speaking to your parents, speaking to the entire nation is not something that is easy to do. It requires a lot of courage to speak the truth. But what did he do? He spoke the truth. He did not have any fear. And because of this rush that he had, he was able to convey the message to his people, regardless of how many they were and regardless of how mighty they were. Their great numbers and their might, their greatness, neither of them intimidated him. Normally, when we have to speak to our parents, especially if our parents are not that much towards the deen and we have to tell them something about the deen, then what happens? We think twice. Isn't it so? We become a bit worried. We become a bit concerned. How do I bring about this topic? And how do I tell them? How do I tell them in a nice way? We become very concerned. Similarly, if just imagine your entire family has gathered up somewhere, let's say at a wedding, let's say at a party, and they're doing something wrong, and you have to tell them, how many times we think that how am I supposed to bring this up? How am I supposed to talk to them? We become so fearful. But we see that intelligence, we see that right-mindedness is that a person speaks the truth at these occasions. He does not fear the people. He does not get intimidated by their great numbers. He does not become fearful of their might and their power and their high status. But rather, he holds on to the truth and he speaks it, regardless of how the people are going to react. This is what rushd is. This is what intelligence is. What do we think intelligence is? That if somebody is doing something wrong, let them do it. Just smile. And they will think you're very nice to them. Whereas the fact is that if you're really truthful, then you will say the truth, regardless of how people are towards it. There was this lecture that I recently listened to on the biography of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. With the scholar, he was mentioning that one of the factors that made him so successful was that he spoke out the truth. He did amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar regardless of how people would react. He did not care what people would say. He would just say the truth. And this is what made him very, very successful. And yes, it brought about many enemies as well, because when you say the truth, obviously you're going to invite a lot of trouble for yourself, which is why he was imprisoned so many times. But he was never afraid of speaking the truth. It is said that once Abu Hayyan was a famous linguist, and his teacher was Sibawayh. And Sibawayh was also, he was a very great grammarian. So Abu Hayyan, he met Ibn Taymiyyah. And Ibn Taymiyyah, when he met him, Abu Hayyan was very impressed by Ibn Taymiyyah. And he said some verses of poetry that it is said that he never said those verses ever again after that. Meaning anything like that he has never said again, Abu Hayyan, in praise of Ibn Taymiyyah. But Ibn Taymiyyah, when he learned that he is a student of Sibawayh, he said that this man, meaning Sibawayh, he has made certain errors with regards to the Qur'an. About 100, he said. And he used the word liar. Because it was great errors with regards to the Qur'an. He did not feel that, oh my God, this person is so impressed by me, and if I say something about his teacher, he's not going to like me anymore. He has praised me so much. No, that did not stop him from speaking the truth. And it is said that from that point on, Abu Hayyan became one of his fiercest enemies. But was Ibn Taymiyyah afraid? No. This is the truth. This is the truth. I'm not going to become hypocritical just to win the praise of other people. Just to gain fame. No. And we see that when a person becomes like this, that he holds on to the truth, he speaks the truth regardless of how people are going to react. This is when his sincerity really comes to light. And this is when Allah bestows acceptance to his works, to his deeds. That even when he's gone, his works last. They remain. What he has said, it affects millions of people. It affects the entire course of history. So we see that Ibrahim a.s. as well, he did not fear the people. He did not fear his father. He did not think, what are these people going to say? He says the truth. He says it. He's not afraid. مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. Now what were these pictures that these people were worshipping? It is said that the people of Ibrahim a.s., they were star worshippers. They used to worship stars, celestial bodies. And the ruler of that time, of that area, was Namrud. And Namrud was also a star worshipper. So we see that it was a national religion that was supported by the government as well. And the people, they had made idols, they had made images, they had made statues of the stars in order to worship them. Now when we see stars, what do we see? Dots in the sky, bright lights in the sky. But they had made images of different creatures that were all imaginary. They were the imaginary images of the stars. So they had made all of them and they used to worship them. And this was the way of the people of the time of Ibrahim a.s. and this was also the way of the people before them. So they had adopted this way because their forefathers were upon it. So Ibrahim a.s. he questioned them, مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. What are these tamathil that you're so devoted to them? Now yes, this was thousands of years ago that people had made images and they would remain devoted to them. They would think that they were a source of barakah for them. They would go and prostrate to them. They would go and pray before them. But we see that even today, amongst those people who claim to be Muslims, there are in their houses, in their workplaces, images of certain saints, of certain pious people, of certain righteous men, whom they literally pray to, whom they feel as if they're watching them. And just as the people of Ibrahim a.s. were aakifun to those images, similarly, even such people today are aakifun to these images. So such questions should also be asked from them. That مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. We're not allowed to put pictures. It's clearly forbidden. We're not allowed to display them. So how can we display the pictures of righteous men and think that it is permissible for us? It's not permissible for us. So we see that it was the rushd of Ibrahim a.s. that led him to asking this question. قالوا, they said, the people responded, وَجَدَنَا, we have found, آبَاءَنَا, our forefathers, لَهَا, for it, عَابِدِينَ, as worshippers. We are doing this simply because we found our forefathers worshipping these idols, worshipping these images, these pictures. We have no other reason. We have no other explanation but this. We're doing this simply because our forefather used to do it. قال, he said, Ibrahim a.s., he didn't say, oh really? So it might be the truth. He said, لَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ. Certainly, you all. Antum, you. وَآبَاؤُكُمْ, and also your forefathers. You, and also your forefathers. فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, you are in manifest error. You and your forefathers. Why? Because you are worshipping images that you have made yourself? You're worshipping sculptures that you have made yourself? Both you and they are misguided. You're not on the straight path. What you're doing is clearly wrong. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Because what you're doing is not based on any evidence. There is no evidence for shirk. So what happened? The people were shocked. How dare this child He's saying to us that أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. So they said, they said, أَجِئْتَنَا بِالْحَقِّ, have you come to us with truth? Meaning, do you really have some evidence to support what you're saying? Do you really have the truth? Have you brought the truth to us? The practices that we are upon, they are wrong? أَمْ أَنْتَ مِنَ اللَّاعِبِينَ, or are you of those who jest? Are you serious about this? Or are you joking? Al-la'ibin is a plural of la'ib. And la'ib is one who does? One who does? La'ib. La'iban wa lahwan. So la'ib is one who does la'ib. And what is la'ib? Play. Amusement. If you think about it, la'ib is not a serious action. Would you call it a serious action? Something that really requires a lot of your time, a lot of your energy, a lot of your money. Does it? No. Because if you think about it, la'ib generally, typically, it's only for the purpose of entertainment. Only for the purpose of amusement. And there is no useful or productive outcome at the end. For instance, when a group of grown men are running after a ball, at the end, okay, what do they achieve? That they kicked the ball into a particular place 5 times? Is that really the goal? Is that really the objective of all of that activity, all of that running? All those 80,000 people who have gathered up in one place watching grown men kicking balls and managing to kick a ball at a particular spot 5 times, 6 times. Really? That's the objective? That's the purpose? So if you think about it, typically, la'ib is not a useful action. It's not a purposeful action. Yes, there are some la'ib, in which when a person does participate in himself, then he certainly benefits. Whether he is running after a ball or he's throwing a ball or whatever. One is that you yourself are engaged in sports. That's very good. But the other is that you're sitting on a couch and watching other people engaged in sport. That's a total waste of time. Because if you're doing it yourself, at least your body is benefiting. You're becoming more strong. Your lungs are getting stronger. Your blood circulation is getting better. You're becoming healthier. You're becoming stronger. But the other is that you're just sitting in one place and you're watching other people for 4 hours, for 3 hours, for 2 hours, regardless of how long the match is. That is not healthy at all. So, over here, when they say, Am anta min al-la'ibin, or are you of those who are playing? Meaning, are you joking? Are you kidding? Are you serious? Whatever you're saying, have you brought the truth to us, or are you just fooling around? Are you just kidding around? And if you look at it, la'ib over here has been used in contrast to what? It has been used in contrast with halq. Because typically, what does la'ib do? It distracts you from halq. It distracts you, it takes you away, it takes you far away from what the right thing to do is. Because typically in such games, betting is involved, haram is involved. If you ever go to such a place, to a stadium for instance, where games are being played, you will see that people are drinking alcohol, there's so much wrong that's going on, fighting. So it leads to a lot of wrong things. It leads to a person being away from haqq. So they ask him, have you brought the truth or are you just joking? Why did they say this? Because they could not accept what Ibrahim a.s. had said to them. Just imagine a young boy speaking up in this manner against the entire people, that all of you are wrong. All of you, you and the previous generations, all of you are wrong. So out of disbelief, out of shock, they asked him this, are you serious? We've never heard of this. What are you talking about? This is just like when Musa a.s. said to the Bani Israel that Allah has commanded you to slaughter a cow. What did they say? أَتَتَّخِذُنَا هُزُوًا? Are you serious? Are you joking with us? So similarly, these people also could not accept how Ibrahim could say something like that. قَالَ Ibrahim a.s. said, بَل, rather, meaning yes, of course, I'm very serious. These tamasil, they're not gods in reality. Who is your God in reality? Rabbukum, your Lord, is Rabbus samawati wal ard. Is the Lord, is the Master, the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And who is He? الَّذِي فَطَرَهُنَّ, the one who has created them. He is the one who deserves your worship. وَأَنَا, and I, عَلَى, upon, ذَلِكُمْ, that, O you all, I am min ash-shahideen, of those who witness. Meaning I am a witness to the fact that there is only one God who deserves worship. The one who has created you, the one who has created the heavens and the earth. I bear witness to this fact. If you doubt, then remember that I bear witness to it. وَتَاللَّهِ, and by Allah, لَأَكِيدَنَّ, surely I will definitely plan. Akidanna from the root letters, Kaf Ya Dal, kaid. And what does kaid mean? To make a plot, to make a plan. Why? What's the objective? In order to harm the other. Remember that kaid is ihtiyal fil idrar. It is to make a secret plan in order to harm the other, in order to cause harm to the other. Now generally this word is used for a negative plot, meaning it has a negative connotation. But remember that it also has a positive connotation. Because the main thing in kaid is to harm the other without letting him become aware that he is going to be harmed very soon. This is the main thing. Now, the one to be harmed, he could be innocent and he could also be guilty. Isn't it so? He could be innocent and he could also be guilty. So if you're trying to harm someone secretly who is innocent, then kaid would be what kind of a plot? Evil plot. And if the objective of the kaid is to harm someone who is guilty, then kaid would be what kind of a plot? It would be good plot. It would be a good plan. So وَتَاللَّهِ لَأَكِيدَنَّ, surely I will definitely plan, meaning I am going to plan to destroy and break these idols. أَصْنَامَكُمْ, against your idols. When? بَعْدَ, after, and that تُوَلُّوا, you all turn away, مُدْبِرِينَ, ones who turn their backs. Mudbirin is a plural of mudbir, and mudbir is one who shows his dubur, meaning one who shows his back and walks away. So after you have gone away, I am going to execute my plan against these idols. So Ibrahim a.s., he swore an oath to plot against the idols. And what was this plot? In order to break them, in order to destroy them, after the people had gone away. Now, typically, those people who worship idols, what happens? They remain akifun to them. They remain constantly devoted to them. They don't leave them at all. If you have ever happened to pass by such places where people have devoted themselves to, look after a certain grave or look after a certain site, then you will see that these places are always full. If you ever pass by a shrine, it's always busy. During the night, during the day, on the weekend, every single day, all the time there are people over there. So Ibrahim a.s., he needed to go to these idols at a time when nobody was there, so that he could execute his plan against them. So which day did he select? He selected the day of festival. Because on the day of festival, it was like a national holiday. And every single person would go and participate in the festival. And the festival was out of town. And remember that this religion of shirk of that time, it was supported by the government as well. Because typically what happens? If you are a minority, or if there are different types of religions being practiced in the same country, in the same society, then even if holidays are given, it's not necessary that if a particular faith has a festival coming up, then everyone is going to be given a holiday. Unless if there is one dominant religion. So we see that over here, because the religion was supported by the government, this is why the entire nation, the entire people had gone for the festival. So at this time, Ibrahim a.s. decided that he was going to stay behind. When the people said, "Are you coming?" He said, "Inni saqim, I am unwell." So he did not go with the rest of the people. He stayed behind. And then he went and, what did he do? He broke the idols. He carried out his plan against them. But we see that this was not something that was easy to do. He was standing up against the entire nation. He was on one side, and on the other side was the entire nation. But it was his right-mindedness, it was his reason that made him take this stand, that made him so firm on his position. that he did not follow the rest of the people. Rather, he questioned. He used his mind. And he also made a plan. If you notice the word لَأَكِيدَنَّ, he made a plan. Because apparently it might seem that he was being very emotional, and out of that he said such a big statement that I'm going to, break these idols. No. لَأَكِيدَنَّ, I'm going to make a plan. This shows that when something important has to be done, then planning must be there. Because typically, people do not plan properly. And because they don't plan properly, they don't end up achieving anything. فَجَعَلَهُمْ, so he made them. Meaning, after the people had gone away, he went to the shrine or whichever place where these images were, and he made them into judad and into fragments. The word judad is a plural word that has no singular. It's a plural word that has no singular. And it means small pieces. It means shreds of something. Scraps of something. So فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا, he made them into small pieces, meaning he broke them into small pieces. All of the idols, all of the images. إِلَّا كَبِيرًا لَهُمْ, except for the greatest. كَبِيرًا, the large one, lahum, for them, the meaning that the people had. So the biggest, the main idol, he left that as it was. But the rest of the idols, the rest of the images, what did he do to them? He broke them into pieces. Why? لَعَلَّهُمْ, so that they, meaning the people, إِلَيْهِ, to it, meaning the kabir idol, يَرْجِعُونَ, they will return. He left the big idol. Why? So that when the people would come back, who would they go to? The big idol. And when they would go to the big idol, they would see it perfectly fine. And the rest of the idols are all broken. So they would wonder, did this idol do it? But then they would realize, no, the idol cannot move by itself. So then what would they do? They would go to Ibrahim and they would ask him, what happened? Who did this? So the reason why he spared the big idol was to make the people realize that these idols cannot do anything. They cannot even defend themselves. In Surah Al-Safat, ayah 93, we learn, فَرَاغَ عَلَيْهِمْ ضَرْبًا بِالْيَمِينِ, and he turned upon them a blow with his right hand. So he broke them with his hands. So when the people returned, قالوا, they said, مَنْ فَعَلَ هَذَا, who did this? بِآلِهَتِنَا, with our gods. Man over here can be understood as man of istifham. It's a question being asked. Who did this to our gods? And secondly, man can also be understood as man of mawsul, that whoever has done this to our gods, إِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ, then indeed he is surely of the wrongdoers. Whoever has done this to our gods is certainly someone very evil.